Let's see if this is working. Looks like it is. Everything seems to be. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA, Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association. And we're going to be talking about data today, mostly data. So let's first watch a little show from the NHL and their tribute to moms. So here we go. You don't raise. Thank you, hockey moms. Too true. Too true. Okay, and here's the story behind it. Let's get over to that. Okay, and here we go. I gotta rearrange my windows a little bit. Okay, yeah, that was a moving story. Okay, so one Sunday a year is devoted to honoring moms everywhere. From flowers that kids can afford. And I chopped the edge off of here a little bit. This is from Audrey Kemp, from The Drum. And behind every Stanley Cup champion is a supportive, selfless hockey mom. Driving the early hours, driving to faraway rinks, washes uniforms, men's injuries, a special Mother's Day spot. I can't even read it because I get so choked up. Anyway, that was cool. So I hope you had a good Mother's Day if you're a mom. Retailers are challenged in using data. Retailers are overwhelmed, and who's this by? Ray Schultz, my friend Ray Schultz at Media Post. Retailers are overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data hitting them and have trouble using it to implement data-driven strategies. Normally about this point, I would pick up my book and show it to you, Spinning Straw into Gold. You won't find it by that on Amazon easily because there used to be, when I first published it, there was only my book out there, Spinning Straw into Gold, but now there's dozens of them in all different perspectives on spinning straw into gold. I'm not sure how many of them know much about straw, but I did background research, and one of the things I found out was that straw is not hay. I got that from Greg Sayers at the Merton Feed Mill. Straw is not hay. Hay is what you feed to an animal that nourishes and grows an animal. Straw is what you put under an animal, and it catches what comes out of an animal full of caca. And so it's not surprising that people have trouble using data. Even the best data. I think the best data is what did you buy from them, right? Even that needs remarkable amount of cleansing and categorization and long-term perspective. So of the digital and e-commerce marketers surveyed, there was about 110 surveyed. 80% give themselves a grade of 60% or lower. Now, in my day, 70% was a failure. 70% was, so they're below failure. They're an F minus for using data for customer acquisition. If they had over 500 million in sales, then they were only 65%. They said, what was the question? A grade of 60% or lower. My word. And 90% use core web analytics and behavior data, which is more confusing usually than it is illuminating for marketing campaigns. But fewer than 50% use point of sale, price, and inventory changes or customer care interactions, which is kind of anecdotal. But this is at least hard data on first-party purchases, and they don't even use that. It's so much easier to use Google Analytics than it is to make sense out of transactions. That's where the gold is. So now we'll get over to an article by Gunderson, Direct Gunderson Direct, Prospecting for Gold. And this is about just what it sounds like, finding the gold in the straw, I think. I have read it. You can see I have it highlighted. Okay, and so the key takeaways from this article are learning about existing customers through data profiles. Now, what I really wish is the first step toward getting better targeting towards better targeting future customers. Using data to learn about a customer file is a great validation tool. And they don't mean validation like I use validation. I use validation by using it in machine learning. What we do is we build a model with half the data set, half the first party transactions. And then we use the other half and we test the model and we say, would this model have worked in another data set? And what we find often is mostly no. Most of the variables are no good. And so we iterate, probably 20, 25 times for any given model. And that's what we call validation. That's not what this is about. Profiles don't do that kind of validation. When working with data vendors for straight or modeled list selects, and mostly they don't even validate modeling, profiles can help unlock the imagination. This is true. This is true because mostly profiles are made up for designing more effective direct mail content. Okay, and I don't want to be too hard on Gunderson because I like just about everything they put out. But would be great. This is by Sam. Sam jumps right in and says that he started his career as a telemarketer, and he was interviewing a young woman, Happy Mother's Day, with a crying infant. And so he then shared with her that he had just had a baby. His wife had just had a baby a little while before, and he didn't mind the crying baby. And so, in fact, I don't even hear crying babies pretty much after 4 kids, 3 grandkids. Anyway, his supervisor did not approve of the deviation from the script, and I can understand that too. Some flexibility. Very few telemarketers stick to the script, in my experience in managing 65 in a telecenter. But you do your best. You coach the ones that are doing poorly, tell them to get back to the script, and usually they do better. But then he got a college degree and went into a data center, and I'm not quite sure why this is that helpful. But he said, I took pride at the data center in creating data profiles that help my clients find the optimal mix of data elements to define a potentially good performing target audience. Potentially good performing? Or to find a good performing target audience? Or to potentially find a good performing audience? I'm not sure. Really, I'm not sure that helps. Did you have any success or not with those? I built a profiling system back in about 1995 with for quad graphics, quad data. And we were going to use it to show catalogers how to use data. As we just heard, retailers don't know how to use data. They might want to talk to me. Maybe we could start simple. And this profile took 12 geodemographic variables based on zip code data. And we would look at a company's customer distribution. And through that, we would find that maybe for Highlander, for example, in education, their buyers, they were selling, the Highlander catalog was selling a video collection during, with a TV commercial, during the Highlander TV show when it was airing. And it was a kind of a sci-fi thing. And what we found was that the customer profile was high income. From the buyers were from high income, high education, meaning relatively high graduation rate, high school graduation rate. And those were the two most important variables when we just plotted the purchasing customers. And the way that made money was because the commercials ran during the Highlander show, they would get thousands of calls at once, and they couldn't take all the calls. And so what we did was we mapped the customer area codes, and that was when you pretty much everybody had landlines, and we matched the area codes to the SCFs and zip codes that had the best high graduation rate and high income. And so they only had to take the calls, or they could filter out when it got really, really busy. They could filter out the less high income, high education neighborhoods and answer the phones. That's how you make money with data. Simple. Tell Ray. Okay? And that's how you make money with profiling. That's how we made money with profiling. But I don't know what a data profile is in this case. Oftentimes, most of the data profiles I've seen show you the relative penetration of individual variables compared to your customers. And so your customers, in that case, let's just go back with the Highlander. In that case, we might have seen in a typical profile, I think ours are better than average, but in a typical profile, you might say, your customer index is 200% on a scale of 1 to 400 or 1 to 300. So if it was an average, if your customers were distributed in an average way across the country for a particular variable, like let's say married adults, percentage of married adults versus your customer file, and it was not an important variable at all. And out of those 12 key variables, we usually see 8 that don't matter at all. But these reports, these profile reports, typically have 30 or 40 variables on them. And oftentimes it can be very confusing and even a little deceptive because, for example, we were working with the rescue missions, a few rescue missions around the country as kind of a pilot project. And in the data set that we got the profile from, there were people who read their Bible every day, that kind of thing. And in the data set, a very small percentage actually read their Bible. And the index showed a slight increase in the giving versus the comparison with people who read their Bible. It was a Christian mission after all. But when we tried to get names for that, we found that there were very, very few names in any particular area, like around the rescue mission. And so a lot of this stuff is very, very tricky. It's easy to talk about. It's very difficult to get into the details and actually make money with it. So we're not quite sure what a profile is, which I would have preferred to the biography section. But it sounds like it's good. And then it ends. Well, anyway, so I've given you a couple of stories to go with it. Sam, that's a suggestion for you. Next time you write, maybe you should define what your main subject matter is. What is a prospect? What is a profile when you're prospecting? And that's enough for today. Like and share especially. If you like it, share it. That's worth about 40 likes. Have a great day, and you'll probably see me back in the office tomorrow. Bye-bye.